Hi, my name's Madge. I'm a tenancy enforcement officer for Teign Housing. Today, I'm going to answer a few of your questions just about my job role, my responsibilities, what inspired me, and hopefully that will encourage somebody like you to want to step into housing as a career path for you. So we'll kickstart with question one, which was, where and what subjects did I study in order to get this job? So I completed an apprenticeship in housing, and that was through a local authority at the time where I was living. So I completed an apprenticeship at East Devon District Council, and it allowed me to earn whilst I was learning and complete a qualification at the same time. That qualification was a housing management qualification at level 3. And that was through somebody called Chartered Institutes of Housing, which is the professional body which supports professionals within housing to develop on their skills and give them up-to-date information about any changes within the sector as well. Did I always want to do this job? Honestly, no. I actually tried to pursue a dream playing rugby, wanted to enter into that sort of sporting environment, really. So I completed a national diploma in sporting excellence, and I actually relocated to Gloucester at the time in order to pursue that. When I then returned back to Devon, I then had to look at alternative career paths for me. And so at the age of 21, 22, I then decided to step into housing, took up an apprenticeship, and the influence on me in doing that was in fact a family relative who said that I would actually be otherwise really quite good at this job, and could transfer some of the skills that I had learnt within a sporting environment. So some of those communications, that sort of teamwork, that ability to sort of negotiate, praise, and those sort of words of encouragement, which is very much part and parcel of the work that I do, could be easily transferred into this job role. So what's the best and worst parts of my job? So as an antisocial behaviour officer or tenancy enforcement officer, the best parts of my role is that I work quite heavily with the police. And I will progress situations through tenancy enforcement. So that could be repossession of homes and dealing with poor behaviour. Also, I do a lot of work around supporting some of our sort of our national issues. So some of those might be county lines, which I'm sure some of you have probably been educated on. So what that would incorporate is me going on warrants, executing warrants at addresses with the police, gathering evidence for the sake of progressing that through to court. So that can be really quite exciting in my job role. Some of the worst parts, is part of the court work that I have to do. There's a lot of administration, so there's a lot of paperwork that I have to do, a lot of filing, preparing papers and submitting them to court. So that can take quite a bit of time, but nevertheless, it is quite exciting, especially when you get to court and especially when you're able to progress things. Who inspires me? So my family certainly inspires me. I've got 2 little ones and a wife and a dog. In terms of anyone who, as an individual, who inspires me, I probably couldn't say, but certainly where I do draw inspiration in terms of this job role is actually some of the work that I do to find some really positive outcomes for communities, for individuals who are really affected by nuisance and antisocial behaviour. And when I come in and take on this kind of work, you can be seen as somewhat a bit like an unsung hero. You're coming in, you're dealing with the matter, you're finding some sort of solution to the situation. And some of these people that I deal with, some of those victims can be really quite broken, can be really quite feel quite let down. Often there is a lot of praise out of that, and they see you as a real positive individual, I suppose, and they can be really quite grateful for the work that I'm doing, or anybody else for that matter working within antisocial behaviour or tenancy enforcement. What are my best skills? So I mentioned about transferable skills from playing in a sporting environment. So I think communication and that sort of teamwork is probably my best skills, and being able to influence and negotiate is probably one of those as well. So what I mean by that is it's often when I'm being presented with situations where we have nuisance and poor behaviour of a particular individual tenant. Sometimes it's trying to engage with them and build a bit of rapport to get them to understand the impacts of their behaviour and to try and prevent and stop that. And often there is a case of trying to influence and negotiate them, taking part in behavioural contracts. Being able to refer them to different agencies, so those sort of agencies that might support them with drug and alcohol misuse, those sort of things as well. So if you are able to communicate quite well, you can be quite effective in this job. How much do I earn? So a ballpark figure is how much I earn. So it's between the range of about 30 and 38,000 a year in the sort of role that I do. In housing itself, it can be quite rewarding, particularly if you start to progress up the ladder. So you will have various managers, so who I would report to, who supervise myself, who would be on sort of 40 to 45, 48,000 a year. And then you can get head of housings from sort of 55, ranging up to about 75,000 a year. And if you progress again, you would be able to look at like a chief exec position, and again, that can be ranging from like 120,000 plus. So there's some real progress within housing, and you can be various heads of different departments as well. So there won't just merely be one head of housing. You'll have a head of development, head of repairs. So there is a real potential there to earn. Do I enjoy my job? Is it fun? Yes, absolutely. I do enjoy my job. I do think it is fun. It can be quite difficult at times, particularly when you're dealing with quite volatile, aggressive individuals, but it is certainly really quite rewarding. And it can be really quite exciting. So, when I talked about going on warrants, those sort of things, obtaining, going to court, and preparing and presenting cases, that is an enjoyable part of my job. It certainly isn't everybody's cup of tea, but you certainly feel quite valued and quite appreciated in some of the work that you're doing, particularly from those victims and those communities who you're supporting. And you're certainly valued by your colleagues and peers as well, because it is quite a specialist role. So yeah, no, absolutely. What advice do I have for someone looking for a part-time job? So my advice would be to remain quite flexible. There's a lot of people looking at part-time roles in order to fit in with their sort of work and life balance. So I think it's really important to be flexible. And I think it's really important as well to try and hone in on something that is going to be good for you in terms of transferring some of those skills into later career paths that you might choose. So, for instance, if you're looking to go into legal or into law, or become a lawyer, solicitor, whatever it might be, you might want to look at sort of timekeeping. You might want to look at administrative tasks as well. So yeah, if you can find something, I know it's not always easy, but if you can find something where you can transfer those skills, then that would be brilliant. So yeah, that would probably be my advice in terms of obtaining part-time jobs, and have a bit of tenacity as well. There will be a few knockbacks, but often you will find yourself successful as well. And to not give up, because when you are employed, you certainly become more employable in the future. So it's start small and work upwards and gradual, and you will get there. It will pay off all the hard work. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight, and if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, but otherwise, thank you.